The following podcast does not contain any Ted Lasso spoilers. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is my weekly podcast. Later, That Same Life. Stories, discussions, topics, both personal and of shared public interest. At the end of each episode, I share my email address. Feel free to interact. And if you like these or other chapters, please share with a friend.
Season 2, Chapter 11, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso became my show. The series, starring Jason Sudeikis in the title role, streamed on Apple TV, 10 episodes Season 1, that was 2020, and 12 in Season 2 this past summer and fall. And now we wait until 2022 for Season 3, purportedly the final season. The purpose of this podcast is not to analyze the story, the characters, the messages in each episode, because that has been done and done. I know. I read most of those articles. No, today I want to analyze how this show, based on a network TV sports promo ad, became this viral, talked-about series. Also, I want to take a look at the way we watch TV and the way it is served up to us. Even the term watch TV is outdated. As I pointed out in my movies podcast, with a variety of screens, content, formats, services, channels, sites, et al., I don't know what watching TV really is anymore. Wow, Lucy had the baby. Edith died. It's a mash bash. Who shot JR? Cheers is closing. Seinfeld finale. Those days are gone. Today, I absorb content, either in a video or strictly audio platform. Absorbing content. Doesn't quite have the cachet yet, right? I mean, what are you doing? Oh, just sitting on the couch absorbing content. Hey, you want to come over later and absorb some content?
Yeah, sure.
Because of my love for Ted Lasso, I decided to watch the Emmy Awards this year. The show was up for like 20. Emmys began at 8 p.m. Sunday on the CBS television network. I sat on my sofa. During commercials, I went to the fridge for snacks. I felt like I had been beamed back to 1985. At one point, I said to myself out loud, what a ridiculous way to absorb content. I beamed myself back to the future, and the next day just watched the Emmy clips on YouTube. Hey, more about our newly formed screen habits later in the podcast, but now back to Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is played and co-created by Jason Sudeikis. You may remember him from such TV shows as Saturday Night Live and movies like Horrible Bosses, as well as dozens of other projects. The story of how this got started is pretty well known, but quickly, NBC Sports had obtained the American streaming rights for English Premier League soccer. Network executives thought that to promote the service and sport to a U.S. audience, they would play on the American knowledge or lack thereof of soccer, which most of the rest of the world calls football. Footy. And these events happened over 2012-2013. They turned to Jason Sudeikis and Brendan Hunt. Hunt plays Coach Beard on the series and is a longtime colleague and friend of Sudeikis. Actually, the two had invented their American coach characters when they were both in Amsterdam in 2001. This Amsterdam improv comedy group were doing a comedy exchange with Second City in Chicago. Sudeikis and Hunt went over, and as the only Americans, they had to deal with the soccer culture of Amsterdam. And the American coach characters were their response. They were quite funny and well received. NBC approached the two to create characters for the soccer league promos in America. They went viral. I guess the rest is history, but here is the history. At the time, Jason lived with actor-director Olivia Wilde. She suggested they expand the character into a series. Jason consulted Brendan Hunt and their other creative partner, Joe Kelly. They brought on Bill Lawrence, famous for Scrubs, among others. And these four developed the show into what most of us know today. By the way, during this time, Wilde and Sudeikis had a son and a daughter until they announced their split in November of 2020. And by January of 21, Wilde announced she was dating Harry Styles. And had been for some time. I heard this from my friends Tab and Lloyd. So that's how a network sports promo became a series. But how did a series on a streaming service become this talked-about, must-see show? Well, first of all, it's good. Good story, writing, and characters, well acted. When it comes to things like shows, movies, and music, we tend to want to share the good. It's not like we don't share bad experiences, but logically, you share a bad experience with me, I will not likely rush to have that same experience. And the thing, whatever it is, quickly fades out of existence. Share the good experience, and I am more predisposed to try and have the same experience. And if it's good for me, well, I share it again, and off we go. You might be thinking, well, that just means it went viral. We're all connected today, and things go viral all the time. See, I don't think so. I'm fascinated by the fact that things went viral before we even called them that. I remember as a young child hearing a bawdy joke on the playground at recess. That summer, when my cousins visited from the West Coast, I couldn't wait to share it. Hey, David, what did one butt cheek say to the other butt cheek? Together we can stop this crap? What? How did you know that? He'd already heard it. How was that possible 1,000 miles away? It's not like that joke was in the newspaper or on radio or TV. Word of mouth. It's the most organic and original way to share information. And really, still the only way, despite media's attempt over the decades to manufacture it.
It was so good, I told 2 friends about it, and they told 2 friends.
I told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends.
And so on, and so on, and so on.
Media falsely thinks they've been successful at creating word of mouth. But what they don't get is that what they actually create, and only sometimes, is a positive experience. A fine shampoo, a good show, a tasty snack. And then from there, it's up to you and me to share with 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends, and then
and so on, and so on, and so on.
What has changed is today's extreme connectivity, the ability to share quickly. So we believe we have the data and the evidence for why an hilarious cat video was seen by 10 million people around the world, where previously I had no evidence on how a poop joke traveled 1,000 miles in the 1960s. So I believe it's still word of mouth, even online. Granted, you may come across something because it's already viral, or it's fed to the top of your search by an algorithm, etc., etc. Gee, I better check this out. It's viral. Everybody's into it. I have FOMO. I will watch. But often this starts because of someone that you know or trust. And let's talk about that trust factor. Will you watch a video or try a show or even the new burrito place based on a word from someone whom you have a relationship with? Probably yes. If someone recommends you try X, you may try because you trust their opinion. They've hardly ever steered you wrong before. We like similar things. Our tastes align. Yes, thanks for the recommend. I'll give it a shot. I have a few people like that in my life. We all do. I know if they recommend something, I should at least try it. Don't always love it, but their good to bad ratio is workable. So even if they screw up on this thing, I still might like the next thing they suggest. It's kind of why celebrity endorsements still work, or social media influencers. It depends on the celebrity, but we feel we have a relationship with them. We admire them. We feel we know them a bit. And hey, if Shaq is recommending this office printer, it must be good. Sadly, our lives are also filled with many of these other people. Those people who think they are influencers, but they aren't. Every few days, they seem to be saying, hey, watch this video. Here's an article I thought you might like. You should try this yogurt I love. They don't even discriminate. They aren't a good judge of me. I call those recommends homework. Thanks, you've given me homework. I guess we're friends, so I feel obligated to go through the crap you passed on and get back to you with some generic remarks like, "Oh, thanks for this," or, yes, interesting. But hey, every once in a while in there's a gem. So I guess I'll have to keep doing my homework. It's like your mom said, how do you know you're not going to like it if you won't even try it? Hey, maybe I'm psychic. Of course, as a kid, you try it, and even if you do like it, you gotta lie. Told you I didn't like it. You know, at a young age, it's more important to be right than it is to actually enjoy something. Of course, this opens up the whole realm of acquired taste. I've done that with a few things, but psychologically, it puzzles me. Just keep repeating something you hate. Keep having the negative experience until you learn to like it. It's an acquired taste? Oh, you mean it's crap. Why do we do that? How do we do that? Acquired taste may just be a thing of the past. Because these days, you don't like something, it's canceled, never to return. Have you ever won or lost relationships based on recommends? Oh, you got to see this movie. Mind-blowing. You'll love it. And then you fast forward. Saw it, Larry. Hated it. How could you possibly love that piece of garbage? How could you possibly hate that masterpiece? You know, it's different between us now. Goodbye. Maybe I'll call you sometime. Granted, other times you become besties with someone because you share many similar tastes. That's cool. But when the opposite happens, that's tough to take. I thought I knew you. I haven't had too many of those unctuous social breakups. I try not to be too judgmental, but sometimes you just gotta say, "What? You don't like Ted Lasso? Sorry, we can't be friends anymore." Of course, these breakups happen a lot more these days over bigger fish, so to speak. My best friend just said, "What about gay people?" Well, that's no good. One of my favorite people just protested health workers near the COVID ward. But, yeah, relationship enders. I guess I gotta re-examine how I assess people's ethics. Seems more likely that you break up with someone over something like that, more so than a TV show. But you know, both can happen. And here's the thing people say, "Well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree." I don't agree with that. I think when most people say it, it means they're out of arguments. They've been proven wrong. They have no more comebacks. And yet they won't change their mind. Let's agree to disagree. No, let's agree that you're a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking every wrong direction on your lonely way back home. Word of mouth, based on trust, like-mindedness, the feeling of simpatico. Research during the pandemic has backed this up. Studies showed that the nation's top medical officer could tell you to get a vaccine, but you were more likely to believe your family doctor. The president, prime minister could urge you to mask up, but the request meant more if it came from your local minister. That's when that door-to-door idea came up. The local grassroots level, as it's also known. That's how word of mouth works, regardless of whether it's a face-to-face conversation or a tweet. Starts with someone you know and or trust. Conditions of how we know or trust people, they may have changed, but the basic principles of word of mouth still apply. So simply enough, Ted Lasso, word of mouth. A good experience shared with someone you like, and someone who trusts you enough to actually act on your recommend. Times 1,000, times another 1,000, and we're up to 1,000,000 just like that. Today, if a kid hears a good poop joke on the playground, he'll just text his cousin on the West Coast. Won't have to wait till the spring and summer for the gag to have traveled 1,000 miles. It's the same idea, just much faster. You know, it just occurred to me that I should have come up with a better analogy than a kid's poop joke, but, well, it's too late now. I'm not going to go back and fix it. Everybody loves Ted Lasso. Well, there are those people who say, "What's up with this show? Everybody loves the show. I just don't get it." I call those people Nates. You'll only get that if you watch the show. Ted Lasso became my show. I hadn't had a show for a while. A show to call my own, to anticipate, to watch, enjoy, talk about afterward. Some have said the success of the show was because of its folksy, positive disposition during a pandemic and turbulent political times. I think that's partly true. You may agree to disagree. It's that and more. It's clever, witty, funny, poignant, laugh, cry, laugh again. And after all this time and isolation, I got the chance to meet some new friends, Ted and everybody else. I looked forward to hanging out with them every week, even though it was twice removed from reality. And here's what I mean. The most important thing is human contact. Friends and relatives you can talk with face to face in person, shake hands, hug, smooch it up if you're that close. As soon as you put any electronics between that relationship, phone, camera, screen, whatever, it's good. It's the next best thing, but it's once removed. Watching my Ted Lasso family was like a weekly Zoom call where I had to remain permanently on mute. I enjoyed hearing about their lives and watching their interaction, but I wasn't otherwise involved. New Ted Lasso episodes popped every Friday. Discussions arose as to whether a series should just release all of the episodes all at once, as some do, or once a week, sort of how network TV did it in the old days. I think there's an argument for both. In the Ted Lasso case, they left you 7 days to discuss it among friends. They could build hype. You could recommend it to someone else. And if someone bought in, then all the episodes were right there. You didn't have to wait for the reruns like way back when. Some shows say, "Here's everything all at once. Let me know when you're done." Personally, it's daunting to have a whole series in front of you, where I find it easier to set aside a half an hour a week to watch a show, considering how much content there is out there to absorb. The difference, and you know I'm fond of analogies, is like saying you can have all the pizza you want till you're dizzy, but then not again for a whole year. Or you can have a decent helping every week. I would always choose the latter. Of course, now there's no more Ted Lasso pie until August of 2022, they say. Then it's over. Over. As Jason Sudeikis told Entertainment Weekly, Ted Lasso was pitched as a series with a 3-season arc. They also admit that they never knew the show would be this successful, and that can change things. Sudeikis says, quote, "The story that's being told, that 3-season arc, is the one that I know and understand. I'm glad that they're willing to pay for those 3 seasons. As far as what happens after that, who knows? I don't know." Unquote, Sudeikis. And to paraphrase Ted Lasso, that's the story, Pauly Shore.
Later That Same Life is a weekly podcast series written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. A new episode every Thursday. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com.
I don't know about Roy and Keeley. What about Jamie and Keeley? Sam and Rebecca? Will we see Dr. Sharon again? How about Trent Grimm? And Nate? Wow, Nate. And of course there's Jane and Beard. What about Phoebe's teacher? Rupert is such a dick. Hey, will Michelle visit again? I love those three guys at the club. And Higgins, well, who doesn't love Higgins? Higgy Stardust. Whatever happened to that kid with the soccer ball on the street near where Ted lives? Which reminds me, the time of the helicopter.